Welcome to today's session. Today's session is all about picking up the right idea or generating the right ideas, picking up the one that you think is most suitable for you, and then the activities that ensue after that that will allow you to kind of create a more profitable business. In fact, I was having this conversation with Chetan this week about this, but that was a very short, brief conversation. But I'm actually going to show everyone. In fact, before I actually show that to everyone, what I'd like to share with one thing with everyone is that at one point, and Lavanya would understand this a lot more in depth because she's leading a very big team. How many people do you employ, Lavanya, at the moment?
Around 30 plus.
30? Mix of part-timers and full-timers, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So I remember in 2014, in fact, 2013, 14, I had a team of roughly about a combination of part-timer and full-timers, about 47. Okay. And I think we both know how much pain that is. Okay. Like it's a serious pain to lead any more than 5 people. Even 5 people is a pain, but any more than 5 people is a real pain, because these guys will come and tell you stories about their life. And with all due respect, that's fine. But when you're looking at your business and you're listening to all the stories and you're trying to lead the team, it is way more difficult. Okay. Why am I mentioning this? Is because, first of all, remove the thought of running a small business in your life. Okay. A small business is actually never a business. Okay. As soon as I take you out of the business, you don't have a business. That means you are always almost a slave of your business. Okay. So if you're running a team of 5 or 10, or in fact none, you are physically a slave of your business. If I take you out, you have absolutely nothing. Okay. So please remove the thought of running a small business from your mind, because you're not going to go anywhere. All you're going to get is pain throughout your life. You got to build a bigger business. I'm talking about 50 plus people in your team. Okay. When you have 50 plus, you come into the medium category. So you have the small category, which is you have the mini businesses, which is the team of less than 5. Then you have the small businesses between 5 to a team of 50. 50 to 250 is a medium-sized business. And then anything over 250 team members is categorized in UK and in most European countries as a large business. Okay. So when you start, first of all, I would personally recommend that you don't think of running a small business, because that's going to be a pain. Okay. Think of large, think of medium to large at least. Okay. I would say large. But why am I saying that? Is because the smaller the team, the more pain you have. Okay. The bigger the team, the easier it gets, because then you can hire managers to manage the teams and so on and so forth, which eventually leads to a point where you're only leading a handful of managers. Does that make sense? Raise your hand if it all makes sense to you, the basics. Okay. Because what I'm about to share with you will take you to the next level thinking, and I'll help you generate ideas in the middle of that, as well as the activities that will follow behind that, allowing you to scale. Okay. So if you have a small team, you have to practically lead the team. But when you go over 50 members of the team, you can practically hire someone to manage the team for you. And then you are only leading the handful of managers that will be a part of your team. Okay. So the bigger the team, the easier it actually really gets. Okay. You'll be actually surprised when you get to the team of 250 or 300. And I know I'm talking about very large numbers here, but it actually gets really easy. Because imagine if one person is leading a team of 10, okay, and now you have 300 people working. Now you've got 30 managers, right? And then you've got one manager leading, now you've got a senior manager leading the 10 by 3 managers. But now you're only leading those 3 managers. Does that make sense? Yeah. So it becomes a lot more easier. Instead of managing 20 people as a small business or 30 people as a small business, you want to get to 300 plus, 250 plus, because at that point, you'll only be leading 2 or 3 people, okay? And it literally becomes a lot more easier. You will have a lot more time in your hand. You can delegate most of your stuff. It just gets so much more easier. But then you might ask me, how the hell do I get there? Okay, let's start with the idea and then we can get to the money part. Okay, let's start with the idea. Now you might turn up and say, well, most businesses are saturated. It's very difficult to scale. How the hell do I scale a business to a team of 50 plus or 250 plus? Okay, I'm actually going to share with you a couple of exercises that will allow you to generate more unique ideas. That is true, Kalpana there, that is true. But at the same time, before I even do that, let me share with you one thing that I learned quite some time ago. There's actually a picture which I'll share after this call in the group as well, which I took in a webinar a long time ago, which is basically categorizing the most profitable category businesses, okay? Now, raise your hand if you're familiar with the word SaaS, as in SaaS. Anyone familiar with SaaS models?
Is that the one where
Yes.
you put the pension? Take your
No,
pension?
no. Those are
Software
Okay.
as a service.
That's
no,
SIP, isn't it? Is that
SaaS
SIP?
is basically software as a
As a
service.
service.
Oh,
Software
sorry.
as
I
a
thought you were
service,
relating
okay?
to property. Yeah, yeah.
So if you were to categorize, it doesn't really matter what we're talking about, Rajesh. You can always take this and implement it into property, okay? You can take it into any business, but you can take it into property as well. It just works in every business, okay? So if you look at SaaS models, or for that matter, technology models, there is actually a box of 4 where it categorizes, and you have the technology models, or in most cases the subcategory of technology models as SaaS models are the most profitable. Okay, so you see the likes of HubSpot or Salesforce or to name a few. Which other ones are there? Even the CRM systems like Mailchimp or all of these are practically all SaaS models. Okay. What other SaaS models can you think of, Lavanya? I'm trying to think on top of my head. There's quite a few, right?
There are many,
There
Jack.
are millions.
There are many.
There are millions. Yes. But the
Yeah.
ones which are really kind of famous and kind of everyone knows about them. Which other ones are there? Trying to think as SaaS models.
SAP? Is that a SaaS model?
It is. Yes, it is. At the same time, what's his name? ClickFunnels. That's a SaaS model.
Russell Brunson.
Russell Brunson. Yes. There's quite a few. I'm just trying to, I can't think of the names on top of my head. But most of these are SaaS models. Basically, to subscribe, you pay a subscription fee. In fact, I forgot. Sorry. How many of you have basically pay subscriptions? Netflix is a SaaS model. Amazon Prime is a SaaS model. Pretty much every time you pay a subscription fee is in essence a SaaS model, especially if it is automated, okay? Because it's a software or some sort of technology that allows that you use that you pay a subscription for, okay? All of these are SaaS models. And when you categorize any business, subscription-based models are the most profitable in any business, okay? Because they're the easiest to manage. In most cases, they are automated. And even if they're not automated, even if there's some manual work, it doesn't require massive amounts of work, okay? In the second top category was actually education, okay? So education that is on autopilot, okay? So when you see these educational programs, training programs that you see, they are actually very, very profitable, because once they're done, they're on a server, people watch them, and the person who has the copyrighted material eventually makes money on autopilot, okay? In fact, if you look at the likes of even books which hit the #1 bestsellers in the countries, they are kind of very much automated, because once the work is written, it creates royalty at the back of that at all times. Okay, these are some of the most profitable. Now, if I was to go back to Chetan, can you hear me?
I can, Jack. Yeah.
Remember we were having this conversation the other day, and I couldn't actually give you more detail into that. That's what actually triggered this conversation or triggered this session today. That my observation, and correct me if I'm wrong, everyone, please, told me that most people struggle to even evaluate the business models that are more profitable in the first place. Okay, because if you are focused on a generic business model, what will happen is when you look back at it 2, 3, 4, 5 years later, you will look back and think, well, I'm struggling to scale, I'm struggling to make a profit, and I'm actually a slave of the game. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So if you look at even accountancy practices, Chetan, most accountancy practices are maybe a 1, 2, 3 man band. Correct me if I'm wrong, Chetan.
No, you're not.
I would agree. My father runs an accountancy practice.
So unfortunately, when you look back at these people who run these accountancy practices, or for that matter, any small business with a team of less than 5, when you look back at their life 10, 15, 20, 30, 50 years later, and I'm sharing this with a lot of respect, okay? When you look back at their life, they've done well, fairly well. They may have a little bit of pension money, they may have a little bit of investments there, but they are not on top of the game. Okay, they are not able to buy a £2 million house, or for that matter, a £5 million house, or they're not able to pass on tens of millions to in legacy, or maybe do philanthropy, or give money to out there to people, or whatever that might be. If you observe their life, they do well, but not as well as the kind of effort they've put into their life. Does that make sense? Okay, so when you're comparing business models, you want to make sure that it allows you to scale faster at the same time that you bring some uniqueness to it. I'm actually going to come back to both of these aspects. Okay, but you might ask me a question, well, I have done my studies in accountancy, or I've done my skills are in a certain category of work or whatever. You might turn up and say that to me. Well, the answer to that question is that's all irrelevant in this day and age. For you to be able to acquire new skills, how long does it take? 6 months, maximum maybe 12 months. If you go and invest your time into a business that you can't scale, you go and spend 5, 10, 15, 20 years, do you think that's better, or going and learning a skill in 6, 12 months time and learning something that you can potentially scale much faster? Raise your hand if you can answer that question for me, please.
Sorry, what was the question, Jack?
So the question is it better to work on a generic business model that is difficult to scale and spend 10, 15, 20 years of your life and look back and think, well, I haven't been able to scale? Or is it better to go and acquire new skills for 6, 12 months and then start a business that will help you scale much faster?
I can definitely answer that. I'd say the second option.
The latter. Okay.
Yeah, the latter, definitely. Learn this, because there's 3 things that I've learned from one of my coaches, is that you need skills, you need strategy, you need sales, because we're all in sales, whether we like it or not. I know that it's got a bit of a stigma. I've been in sales for the past 5 years, and we need the self-confidence. But like you said, if you've got what you just said, if you've got a business model where you can scale faster and you learn the skills in the next 6, 12 months, that will set you up for the next, like you said, 10 years. So I totally agree with you.
So that is right. Kalpana, you were about to answer this as well?
Yep, I agree with what Rajat just said.
Thank you, Kalpana.
So while you are at things and doing things and trying to make money, just take a step back and say, am I on the right track in the first place? Am I on the right business model in the first place? The day that I learned about this, and this is about maybe 3 or 4 years ago, maybe longer, 4 or 5 years ago, I actually sat down and said, how can I create a business model that allows me to scale faster? At the same time, at the back of that, can I create a SaaS business model? So software as a business. And even right now, as we speak, phase 3 is bringing that into the picture. Okay. So phase 3 actually includes a subscription model, which has 2 aspects to it. There's a CRM system, and there's another thing at the back of that, which allows us to make money on subscription. So even though it has taken us these 4 or 5 years, we are still on that journey. And why am I sharing that with you? That I actually took that and I pursued that very, very persistently to be able to get to this point. But make sure that the business that you're working on allows you to scale and has its unique selling proposal. Like I said, I'm actually going to come back to both of these aspects in a bit. Okay. Is everyone clear on this bit? And I'm actually going to give it in the context of property as well, so you can see for yourself. Raise your hand if you're clear on what I've just shared so far, because this is very, very important. Okay. You will literally look back. If you don't implement this, you look back 5, 10, 15 years later and think, why the hell did I not implement this into my business? Okay. Okay. Sorry. Okay, now you might turn up and say, well, how do I find in this really unsaturated market of property, or for that matter, most markets, a property or sorry, a business idea that it has a unique selling proposal or a unique selling point and allows us to scale faster? And how do I use this 2 top categories of profitability in business, that is the subscription-based model or an educational model, or whatever that might be at the back of that, depending on the context of the idea that you might work on? How do I do that? I'm actually going to share with you 2 exercises that you can do right now, or you can do it later. You can watch this video, you can come back to this video. In fact, I would recommend everyone to come back to this video, because it's really, really important to get a gist of this and really start to apply this in your business. Okay. So there are 2 exercises. One of them is actually just taking a piece of spreadsheet, okay? And on one side, you list all the strategies in property business, okay? So you have at the top, let's say you launch an app. The second one is planning uplift. The third one is land development. The third one is, sorry, development. Fourth is conversion. Fifth is service accommodation. Sixth is HMOs. Seventh is buy to lets, rent to rent, and so on and so forth. I think you are all familiar with the strategies that are available, and you can list lease options, and you can list everything in the middle of all of that. Okay, you can list hotels, you can list pretty much every strategy that is practically available, right vertical or horizontal, it doesn't really matter, but or right on one side, all of the strategies. And so let's say you write vertical all of these strategies, and horizontal, on top you write the ideas that you get. Okay, so let's say you come up with the idea thinking, let's say you come up with the idea thinking, you know what, why don't we have an app that allows us to automate land planning, just land planning. Okay, nothing else, just purely land planning. Okay, is there an app or a software that allows for just land planning? Is there anything like that out there? I just want to know everyone's knowledge base here. Lavanya, do you come with any?
No, Jack. I haven't seen any. I know Lloyd was trying to do one app regarding the calculations.
Yeah, it was
My PDA.
My PD or something, but I don't think that's effective.
Yeah,
I don't think that's effective.
but yeah,
Unless they
but
change something, I don't know.
I haven't applied it to myself, to be honest, my PDA, but I know the app is available.
It is available,
But
but I think I tried some time ago and I wasn't quite impressed with it.
I
Unless,
haven't
like I
seen
said,
any app for.
you haven't. Okay, so that's a good one. Rajesh, you were gonna say something?
I was going to say, we're talking about apps. There seems to be a lot in like every other day. There's like another property tech app coming up, but like you said, something niche as land development would be very, very useful. And I was thinking, you just give me an idea. I don't know if there is an app available, or maybe we could develop it. It's something for maybe dealing with estate agents and letting agents, because I haven't seen any apps for that. But
That's
yeah,
the whole,
that's really good. The topic that you've chosen today, because it
that's the whole
sparks ideas.
purpose.
Yeah, thank
That's
you.
the whole purpose. Okay, so going back to the spreadsheet, let's say, okay, you write, okay, I want to create an app which can automate planning, or which can automate how people find deals in conversions. Okay, I'm talking about automation. Okay, and this is, remember, this is the first horizontal to vertical. Yeah, this is the first box in the horizontal to vertical. Okay, the second could be, you might turn up and say, well, I find it very difficult to find reliable builders. Okay, now I know there is an app called, or there's a website called Trust a Trader, or Build. There's two, Check a Trade, Trust a Build, Trust. There's 2 or 3 of them, right?
Yeah,
Trust
there's loads.
Builder. Yeah.
There's I think 2 or 3 of the major ones, right?
There's Trust a Trader, there's
Trust a
Check a
Trader,
Trade, there's
Check a Trade.
TaskRabbit, and there's
Yeah.
Bark. So there's
Okay.
loads.
So there's 4 of them, right? Now my question to you would be, have you gone and checked the detail of these platforms and see where the gap is? Anyone has done that?
I have to be honest, no.
Okay. No. So again, we are talking about assumptions here. People just assume that these platforms do a lot, while they ignore that there still might be gaps in the market that they don't. Okay. In fact, one of the biggest gaps that I think is that most platforms, especially technology platforms, unless they bring social factor into their platform, they're going to all fail eventually. Okay, so I think Rightmove and Zoopla are thinking about this. So they are bringing in the social factor into this. So for example, if you look at the Waze, the navigation map, okay, you know that the Waze is actually a social navigation map, right? So
Yes.
you can actually interact with
That's right.
on the map. The only reason, in fact, I don't know if you guys know, but Waze is actually taken over by Google quite some time ago. I think it was taken about 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Now, Waze is actually more effective in use than Google Maps itself. If you go to Google Maps, sometimes Google Maps actually takes updates from Waze and puts it in Google Maps. So Waze is actually leading more than Google Maps at the moment. Okay. So every platform that's actually coming out there these days has to have a social factor, or otherwise they're going to flop. They're going to just fail, and they're going to fail miserably if they don't change in the next 5 years. Okay, so I think Rightmove and Zoopla are bringing in that. But my question to you would be, the likes of Check a Trade and Trusted Trader or whatever, are they bringing in the social factors? Are they bringing in the social features? And if not, do you have a chance? Okay, going back to the spreadsheet again. Okay, reliable builders, even though there are apps out there, we still find really hard to deal with builders. Okay, really, really hard. If you have not dealt with builders, start the process and you will see what I mean, that dealing with builders is really, really hard. Okay, how can you change that? Okay, and go back to the spreadsheet and write this as in horizontal and vertical. Okay, to see, can you see with the spreadsheet, the more you write about ideas, the more you walk out and you see a challenge and you come across something and you write in this horizontal now, and you've listed all the strategies in the vertical. Can you see that you're actually multiplying this many times over? Raise your hand if you know what I mean.
Well, wouldn't you need to have some sort of technical knowledge if you're developing an app or
No, not really.
or a software? No.
Not really.
All right.
No,
Okay.
you can hire teams. My
Okay.
question is that when you walk out and you come across a challenge, let's say to get floor plans, you have to call an estate agent or someone who's taken floor plans. Why? Why is there no tool that allows you to walk in and it should take everything itself? I think the 3D technology is coming in very effectively.
Jack,
I haven't used it, but I think it's coming in effectively. Yeah.
there is an app. This morning, I have seen an advertisement. As you walk in,
Floor plans?
it does mention the floor plans,
Okay.
and it does give you an architectural diagram as well.
Fantastic. There you go. There you go. But I have not used it. Okay.
I can't remember it now on top of my head, but I
that's
have
good.
seen app this morning.
That's good. So again, the challenge is that I find it difficult to deal with builders. You know, there are not enough reliable builders out there. The challenge is literally like ordering stuff. You want to order something, you can't get it. You have a small leak, you want to call a plumber, and it is a pain. Even though there are apps out there, there's still a pain. Okay. My question is, when you come across a challenge and you go and put it in that horizontal format besides the vertical strategies, does that help you generate more ideas? Yes, no?
Yes.
Okay.
It sparks
So
more ideas, definitely.
it will start to generate more ideas, and you're practically multiplying them much faster, because if you've listed, let's say, 12 or 13 different strategies here, and now you have, let's say, 10 or 15 or 20 challenges, you take that 15 and multiply that by 15, now you've got 200. Well, whatever that number is, 180 or whatever. Okay, maybe 200, 15 to 15 or whatever, right? Can you see that you've now generated nearly 200 ideas? Okay, without actually having to go through 200 ideas. Raise your hand if you know what I mean so far, please, because I'm not sure if everyone is clear on this exercise that we were trying to do.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying, Jack. But the thing is, it's not just about generating the ideas. You've got to execute them as well.
No, so I'm going to come back to that. I'm coming back.
Yeah.
I'm coming.
But no, I agree. I agree. It definitely is a good idea.
So like I said, I started this session by saying, first of all, that you need to be aware of the most profitable and the easiest to lead ideas in the category. Okay. And the second is then you generate ideas. And some of these ideas, when you start putting them on spreadsheet, will not even make sense. Okay. Doesn't matter if you put a challenge out there and you put strategies on the left, in the vertical, when they start to match, some of them will not even make sense in its category. Okay, so just rubbish ideas, it doesn't really matter. But at the same time, the aim of this workout, or the aim of this exercise, is to allow you to generate loads of ideas without actually really sweating for it. Okay, massively. Okay, can one person here list me 10 challenges that they've faced? Lavanya, I think you went through loads of challenges. Tell me maybe 10 of them. List me 10 of them in the last 6 months.
Many, Jack. Okay.
So list me 10. List me 10.
I had the challenges with the surveyor, especially the communication was really bad. Solicitor communication was bad.
Okay.
Lender was bad as well. When I say bad, it was delayed communication. So every time you come back to the lender, it took me 2 weeks for them to answer me. There was one really bad communication was the surveyor report, which I have mentioned it to you, the dampness.
Yeah.
So that literally took me to resolve it almost more than 5 weeks. Okay. Finding a right trade, to be honest. And choosing the location was challenge as well. I have gone through multiple locations, to be honest.
So do you think they can be, so let me just hold you there, because you've already listed quite a few. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So you said communication. Do you think you can have a software which will allow for communication between the landlord, the buyer, the seller, and the surveyor and the lender.
All
Is there
together on one platform.
Is there a platform that can be integrated into the system of the lender, system of the surveyor, and gives access to landlords and so buyers and sellers?
No,
Okay.
I didn't
you-
come across one.
So can you see where I'm going with this multiplication of ideas? Can you
Yeah.
see that? Okay. Can you find an effective way of, within that communication system, can you find an effective, very highly detailed checklist of survey things? Okay.
Yeah.
Like the most comprehensive in the country.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Can you see where I'm going with this? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Solicitor is a challenge. I think we are all dealing with that. No one person is coming up with that, to deal with that challenge. In fact, I was actually trying with PJ, but then PJ just disappeared. Okay. But can you see where I'm going with this? Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there a software that allows you to find the most effective builders? I have not seen one. Even the trusted trader and all of that, I don't find them effective. Okay.
That's
Check it
because
trade
they're-
is always. Sorry.
Sorry, go on,
Rajesh,
Lavanya.
go on.
No, you go. It's fine. You
Check it.
answer the
Check it trade is sometimes is better, but
Okay.
you know the quality of builders walking through your door,
Yeah.
which I was trying to do the kitchen fitting in one of my flat.
Yeah.
Which was really challenging as well.
Again, yeah. See, the point I'm trying to make is, can you create a system or some sort of idea that will make all of this more effective, the challenges that you came across? Okay. Remember, you can only deal with one idea at a time. Don't mix the two or three or
Yeah.
four. Okay. You can only deal with one idea at a time. Okay.
Mhm.
Can you create a system with a legal company, maybe a listed legal company? Okay. There's quite a few. Can you generate a system with a listed legal company which allows people to keep a track at any given time of what's really happening, all the communication for the buyers and the sellers?
Mm.
Okay.
I think Jasim did okay. We were going through because we were going through similar challenges.
Yeah.
Between Jasim and me
Yeah.
regarding the solicitors. So
Yeah.
we were chatting through about this, and Jasim did mention there was a solicitor
Mhm.
who tracks literally the each and every step of the process, the stage. So there will be an communication going through for the buyers as well as the sellers. So I'm not sure who the name is, but
Yeah, that's okay. Look, like I said, when you do this exercise,
yeah,
many of them would already be done, or people are doing it, or many
That's
of them
right.
will not even make sense. But remember, you only need one really, really good idea. Does that make sense? Okay. You don't need 200
Chef.
ideas or 2,000 ideas. You only need one decent idea in the middle of this and say, I'm actually going to take this idea and I'm going to fly with it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. It's all about listing the strategies on the left, which is vertical, and then horizontal, you list all the challenges that you're facing, and you're practically multiplying the ideas. Okay. I'll give you another example beyond property so you can see for yourself. Okay. Let's say coffee business. Okay. Cafe business. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's say you like a certain kind of coffee. So list all the coffees on your left.
Mm-hmm.
List all the countries on the right, on the top in horizontal. Okay. And now let's say, and I came across this idea just only a couple of weeks ago, because this is something that I'm working behind the scene for myself. Okay. List all the countries. And now let's say you are looking at, let's say you're looking at a decaf. Okay. Or you're looking at a cappuccino. And you listed the countries, and the first country in the list is Afghanistan. I think most of you know that's where I'm from. Okay. So you have Afghanistan. Has anyone ever tried Afghan cappuccino?
No.
Has anyone ever tried Afghan bakery?
Is there such a thing? I don't know. I'm just saying.
I am an Afghan. I'm actually an Afghan Sikh. Okay. And just so
Okay.
you know, Afghan bakery is the most tastiest in this damn world. And I'm not just saying because I have that background. It is really tasty. I mean, English bakery is nowhere close to it. Okay.
Well, English bakery is too, it's a commodity now. It's too homogenous. There's nothing to differentiate between, say, Greg's or an Asda bakery or Sainsbury's.
It isn't.
There isn't.
Right.
So you're absolutely right.
So again, going back to generating ideas, do you think there is a bakery chain, Afghan bakery chain or cafes in UK? And do you think there is a demand for that? Again, I'm saying when you start listing the countries, Lavanya, here is something that has worked really well. Okay, are you familiar with the restaurant? What is it called? The chain that has started. In fact, it's listed as the top restaurant for quite a few years now. What is it called? The Indian Bombay style cafe. I've actually mentioned that name to you.
Chaiwala.
No, not Chaiwala, not Chaiwala. Shit, I forgot the name. It's on Kensington High Street. It's in Soho as well.
Because I know are you talking about tea or actual?
No, I'm talking about
shop?
it's actually a restaurant.
Oh, restaurant. Okay.
But it's a Bombay style, 70s style Bombay cafe.
Is it Disham?
Disham, yep. Disham has been rated as the best restaurant for many, many years. And they've created a massive chain and is a really, really profitable business. Okay. And guess what the theme is? Have you been to Disham?
Yeah, I've been there a couple of times. Very good. I went to the one.
We've been there many, many times. Okay?
One of my favorite restaurants.
In fact, it's a 70s style Mumbai or Bombay cafe. Okay. Going back to the spreadsheet of, let's say, cafes. You've listed all the countries in the world. There's about 220 countries, and you've listed all the coffees. Can you see how you've generated ideas for cafes all the way up? You're talking about more than, 2,000 ideas. Does that make sense?
They're actually now, I think, 50 to 75 million pound company now.
Oh yeah, they are a very, very large company.
Very big. Even they haven't got that many restaurants. But they're hugely really profitable.
Well. Oh yeah, they're very
amazing.
Profitable. I mean, if you were to go to Disham, you will not get space at any given time. You'll end up waiting, or in some cases, they'll even turn you down. Okay, and that's what they want anyway, because when they turn you down, their demand increases, their perception of quality increases. That's all marketing. Okay, going back to ideas, can you see what I just did with cafes? Generating 2,000 ideas all of a sudden. Okay, and then in the middle of that, you can generate more ideas. But going back to property, you list all the challenges, and then you list all the strategies, and then all of a sudden you've just created a whole bunch of ideas to go through. Okay. And then you take that idea and you say, is this going to work? Is this not going to work? And how can I bring in social factors into it or social features into it? Because remember, without the social features, you're going to fall flat going forward. Okay. Most of all companies that you see are bringing in some sort of social aspect to their business, because otherwise it's just not going to survive for too long. Okay. Now, when you take and let's say you've gone through this list of ideas, and let's say you've shortlisted a few. Let's say you've shortlisted 3 or 4, and you think, okay, these may work. Let me do some more research on that. I promise you one thing, guys. If you do this exercise, you will bless me 10 years later. Okay, not now, not in a year's time, not in 2 years' time, but in 10 years' time, you will literally come back and bless me, because I know that you are going to make a lot of money. And I'll tell you why. A normal business gets valued at anywhere between 1 to 5 multiples. A technology platform gets valued at anywhere between sort of 5 to sometimes even 20 and 30 multiples, sometimes even 100 multiples. Okay, depending on multiple factors again. So you look at a generic or a small business, and it literally gets valued 2 times in most cases, while a technology model gets valued many, many times over. Okay. So let's say now you've shortlisted 3 or 4 ideas. Stop me anywhere you like, guys, if there's something that is not clear. Okay. It's very important that you understand everything, how you can take this and implement it in your life. Okay. So let's say now you've shortlisted 3 or 4 ideas, and you go and do your research, and you come across one which you think is going to really work well. Now there's 2 things that you need to get right after that. One is that how can you make it more viral or more controversial? And the second thing is that how can you come up with a name that is actually a verb, okay? Or at least you can convert it into a verb, okay? This is something that I am working on as we speak as well, okay? Literally as we speak, I'm working on some of this stuff, okay? But you take that idea and you say, how can I find a name that is actually a verb? The likes of, you know, like you want a toothpaste, you don't go and say I need toothpaste. In most cases, people just say Colgate, right? They've converted the name of the thing into something that it's almost like resonating with something to a point where people even forget the actual name of the thing. Does that make sense? Raise your hand if you know what I mean. Okay. Raise your hand if you know what I mean. This is very important to understand. If you want a taxi these days, I think more than 50% people have stopped saying I need a cab. They've started saying I need an Uber. Raise your hand if you know what I mean. Even though there are other cab companies, right? There is Bolt and Ola, and there's 2 or 3 more, right? But people have started saying, I don't need, it's not, they've stopped using the word cab and they say, oh, I need an Uber. Even though, I don't know if most people know this, but Uber is probably the most expensive in the whole damn category.
Yeah, I think Bolt is cheaper.
Many of them are much cheaper.
Ola,
Uber is definitely the most expensive, but even then, Uber is the most used, has the biggest market share. Going back to the controversial aspect of it, which is very important. In fact, I was speaking with someone the other day. This guy has launched a tech platform in property business, a software solution, and he's actually coming to see me next week. But one of the things that I was discussing with him, and I actually shared with him that, look, in this day and age, if you come across an idea, and if you cannot make it viral or somehow controversial, either by luck or by intentionally, then you are actually going to struggle with it, okay? Now, if you look at Uber has been just very, very lucky that black cabs decided to go against them, and that became the foundation of it being really, really controversial. And most people don't realize, because of that controversy, which is even negative, these guys are really grew fast, okay? So I think most of you know that I come from the transport background, so I actually studied the Uber model really, really in depth, okay? But that black cabs going against Uber actually really helped them scale. And this is not just in UK, this is pretty much everywhere around the world. Black cabs actually went against Uber, and that helped them scale because they were controversial, even in news at most times, okay? But can you create a controversy around your business idea? Can you create a controversy? Lavanya?
But sorry, Jack, when you're talking about controversy, are you talking about polarizing your audience?
It is. I'm talking about polarizing, but polarizing is one thing. Okay, think of it this way, okay? Polarizing can be done on many levels, like in very small ways, okay? I'm talking about really creating controversy around your idea. Okay, I'll give you, you know, for example, you have the Uber example, right? Raise your hand if you know Jordan Peterson.
Yeah, I've heard of Jordan. He's very controversial on YouTube.
Very controversial, right? I think someone actually sued him for sharing some of his ideas, which were really kind of against some communities. Okay, so because he got sued, that was one of the reasons. He actually mentions it. He actually says that I was very lucky that they sued me, allowed me to become a lot more viral. He actually says it in his videos if you've watched them. Okay. Raise your hand if you have come across any of ideas like that, which became really controversial. At the back of that, they ended up scaling their business massively.
Wasn't that the same situation with Airbnb? maybe not as controversial as Uber. But,
Airbnb was controversial as well. Yes, massively, because it was affecting hotels. Okay, so you have a normal person living in a normal house making money while the next door hotel is actually losing money. So very controversial. Another reason that Airbnb did well and continues to do well. Okay, Purple Bricks, the name in and itself stands out, right? Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
it does. And the brothers have now founded Boomin, the new
Okay.
portal. Yeah, but you're right, Purple Bricks. Because
Okay.
when I was an estate agent, it
Yeah.
really disrupted the market.
It is. So again, going back, if you look at the whole business ideas, L'Oreal, for example, the tagline, because I'm worth it, it has, in fact, the people who've actually studied the L'Oreal business model, they've said that their success has pretty much stood on their tagline. Okay, which is because I'm worth it. Okay, this is something that women can really resonate with, right? Okay, if you look at, even I'll give you a very small example. Raise your hand if you've been to the restaurant called Sexy Fish in Berkeley Square. Anyone been there?
I've seen it because that's not far from Lucky's office, but I haven't been.
It is just around the corner from Lucky's office. Yes, Sexy Fish is actually a very, very profitable business, and purely first because of the name, obviously second due to the service and the quality of food, that's pretty obvious, but because of the name. Do you think you can forget the name Sexy Fish? The answer is absolutely not. You've heard it, you'll remember it 10 years later. Okay, raise your hand if you are clear on what I've just shared so far, making sure that you have some sort of controversy attached to your idea. It is viral to some extent, and the fact that it can be used as a verb in its word itself. Kalpana, do you have a question?
Nope, you asked us to raise your hand.
So sorry.
I'm lowering it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh,
Cheers.
okay, sorry about that. Okay, so everyone clear on what I've just shared?
Yes, Jack.
Okay, so
Yes, Jack.
okay, so if you look at PEN, or if you look at some of the stuff that I do, some of these are already applied. Not all of them, but some of them are already applied to it. Okay, I became initially slightly controversial by saying that we're going to provide massively trainings out there for absolutely free, which we did. Even right now, you can go on our YouTube channel and there's tons and tons of training. There's hours on end training for absolutely free. Okay, that's one of the reasons. If you look at the name Property Entrepreneurs Network, even though it's a long name, and I really massively struggled in my head if I want to take that name on, I eventually realized that a lot of people could resonate with that name, Property Entrepreneurs Network. When they want to network, when they want to connect with people, they go to these networks which have a unique name in and itself. Raise your hand if you know what I mean. Yeah. So like I said, initially, even though I struggled with the name, if I should take it or not, I still did. And eventually it paid off because people can resonate with the name. Okay. At the back of that, I ended up buying a few more domains. I have one domain called propertyconfused.com. I have propertyconfused.co.uk. I have diabetesconfused.com. I have some other ones as well. I can't even think of the names.
Sorry, did you say you had diabetes?
We have, so I own the domain. So the company PEN owns the domain called diabetesconfused.com.
Well, if you ever do something with that, let me know because I'm diabetic. So.
We are actually working on this, Rajesh. We are launching 2 products, basically bars, low carb diabetic bars, basically.
I'll be definitely interested because I'm type 1. I take insulin, so that'd be great.
Okay.
Thanks.
Okay. So again, going back to what I was sharing, that generating ideas and saying, how can I make it more viral, make it more controversial, turn it into a verb? That is a hell of a task. It is very, very difficult. But if you get it, I promise you, you're building £100 million company at the back of that. Okay, because if you can create a company that is a verb in and itself, like Uber has converted its name into a verb, or I want to Uber it, you will build a very, very decent sized business at the back of that. Okay. But everyone clear on these aspects that I've shared? First, making sure that you pick the most profitable business, and then at the back of that, you generate ideas around the business model that you're going to work on, and then shortlisting it, doing your research, trying to see how you can come up with the name which is more controversial, more viral, and then making sure if that name can be a verb in and itself. All this will help you stand out, and at the back of that, scaling becomes a lot more easier. Okay, because if you have a name that stands out, remember, imagine when Sexy Fish were about to open, and they started doing their marketing 3 months before opening, and then the first day you can come in and the drinks are on us or whatever that might be. Do you think they would have found it difficult to scale or fill their restaurant? The answer is absolutely no. Look at the name, look at the location, Berkeley Square, right besides, about 5 doors away from the Bentley showroom. Yeah. So going back, do you think they would have struggled to scale? Absolutely not. Okay. It's all about giving people something to talk about so that they can go and talk about with others and so on and so forth. That allows you to create a bigger network, a bigger database, and that in essence means more business. Okay. Now, a lot of people might just ask me, how do I take this and apply into property business? Well, guess what? You can think of apps, you can think of technology businesses, you can think of 500,000 other things that will allow you to scale your property business. I did not say property portfolio. Remember, if you scale your property business, at the back of that, scaling your property portfolio would be a lot more easier. If you're making money in your business, how difficult it is to scale your property portfolio? Not that difficult. Okay, but making sure that you're making a lot of money in your property business that will allow you to scale your property portfolio. Okay, everyone clear so far, please? Because I'm actually going to take this to the next step, which is another exercise. In fact, instead of going through this exercise, I'm actually going to give you the name of this exercise and you can go and do it yourself. Okay, I think most of you are capable. In fact, everyone is capable. Sorry, my apology. Every single one of you are capable enough to do this exercise yourself. It's called the 6 hat tricks. 6 hat tricks. Okay, it's by Edward de Bono. Go on Google, check it. It's called 6 hat tricks by Edward de Bono. Go and do that. It is based on basically looking at an idea from a factual point. It is looking at the idea from emotional point of view, looking at the idea from its strengths and weaknesses, and there's 6 of them there. And then it allows you to ask questions based on that exercise that will allow you to be able to it's almost like you're filtering ideas out. Okay, and then looking at their strengths and weaknesses and removing the assumptions from the idea. Okay, so it's by Edward de Bono, and it's, I think, called 6 hat tricks or something. Okay, I've done these exercises many times on multiple ideas, which again allows us to kind of work on different ideas and make them work more effectively. Okay, I remember someone had actually asked me quite some time ago that how do you grow your network so fast? Okay, I think one of the reasons is what I'm sharing today. That's one of the reasons, is because we've taken these things and we try and implement either on a smaller scale or a bigger scale, whatever idea we come across at. I would actually take that and start to implement that into our business, and that allows us to be more talked about, So we get talked about a lot. I literally get at least 4 or 5 calls every single day, every single at least working day, where people call me up and say, well, I was talking with a friend and they mentioned your company. I was talking with a cousin of mine and they mentioned about you. And that's because we've kind of created a systematic way for people to talk about us. Okay. And that's all due to everything that I've just shared that I've taken on and applied in my business, okay, in our business, okay? So these are the 2 exercises, and at the back of that, like I said, you got to make sure that you implement, because if you just learn this stuff and you don't implement, it doesn't mean anything, okay? In fact, it's actually worse, because if you sit on ideas and you don't do anything about them, it's actually more burdening on the soul, thinking, well, I have so much knowledge, but I'm not actually taking that and implementing. It actually becomes more burdening on you. One of the things that I learned from Dr. Wayne Dyer is, and a massive teacher for me in my life, is don't die with your music inside you, okay? You got to be very, very creative with your life. And that's how you find yourself in a momentum of more creativity. That's how you find yourself really, really satisfied and content with your life, because you're taking creative ideas and you're implementing them in the business, in your life, which is very, very, very satisfying, okay? So that's that. At the back of that, you might turn up and say, well, how the hell do I scale something to a team of 50 or 100 or 250 and more? How the hell do I do that? Okay. Now, without money, you're just not going to get there. You're just not going to get there. Okay. But I'm actually going to ask everyone this question. If you take these exercises and you come up with one idea that actually is controversial, is viral, and no one is actually working on it, no one has actually worked on it so far, do you think you can take that into the industry and raise finance on it? Raise your hand if you think that can be done.
Sorry, Jack, say that again. If you
so let's say let's say you did all these exercises and you came up with an idea, let's say a tech idea, okay? And you did all your research, you've come up with a viral name, you've come up with an idea that's going to make it more controversial. All of that is all there, and no one is out there using it effectively, that idea. Do you think you can take that, pitch it to investors and raise finance?
Wouldn't it depend on the idea itself, though?
Yes, yes. So
if it's just that some ideas, and I don't know if anyone watches, on Dragon's Den, sometimes you come in with an idea. Yeah, you come in the idea, and one of the dragons will say, you're too early with this idea. It's a prototype. You haven't got it in the market.
Yeah.
So how would you do that? How would you relay that to investors, saying that this is going to be the next big thing if
Rajesh,
you get in early?
One thing I can share with you is, if you look at dragons as well, or for that matter, any entrepreneurs, sometimes they get it right, sometimes they get it wrong.
Yes, I agree. Okay? I agree.
So sometimes a dragon would just leave an idea, and all of a sudden you look at that idea 2 years later, scale to 100 million. While others would take it on and they make quite a bit of it. Okay. Ideas, if you look at, let's say 100 ideas, and in many cases, those dragons are right as well, that sometimes an idea too early or too late will not work. Okay. But unless you don't try, Rajesh, you will be where you are today.
No, I agree with you. It's I was just going to say, is it about timing? Is it like
persistence? It's persistence. Okay. Yeah. Right. So if someone says to you, oh, your idea is too early, well, it's better to be early than late, right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Or even never.
I'm not saying, sorry, Rajesh. So I'm not saying that early is good. I'm saying it's still better. Okay. Yeah. Because sometimes so if you look at the likes of Apple and Bill Gates, or the Microsoft, they were not they did not conceive these ideas. They did not come with many of these ideas. Some of the other companies did. IBM did. I think it was some of the other companies did in the past. But they are the ones who got it at the right time. Okay.
Yeah. So absolutely.
So yes, you're right. But at the same time, if you're not trying and you're not persistent, you're never going to get there. Okay.
And
so when you're pitching these ideas and someone says to you, it's too early, I would reply, yeah, I'd rather be early than late.
because
And
someone
then
else
if I
might.
keep persisting on this, I will hit it at the right time.
Yeah, and also another thing that happens is that, say you, and this is just general, it's happened to me, I don't know if it's happened to you. You have an idea, right? And you start sketching and you say, oh, it doesn't work. And then 6 months later, someone else has got the idea and they executed it. And
You
it
know why?
happens a lot. Yeah.
Do you know why? Do you know why? Because their execution was very strong.
Yes.
In most
absolutely.
cases, it is the execution strength that determines the success of that idea.
So how do you develop the execution muscle? Is it just persistence? Is that what you're saying?
No. It's a lot of, there's two aspects to that, but I'm going to come back to that, Rajesh. Is that okay? I want to cover this bit.
Yeah.
Okay?
I just, yeah.
So making sure that once you've filtered your idea and then you've created some sort of controversy to it or some sort of virality to it, and if possible, make it into a verb by its name or by the tagline, that you go and pitch it to people, because without money, you're absolutely no way gonna scale it to a large business. Okay, you're no way, I insist on this, okay, you're absolutely no way gonna scale it into a large business. Okay, without money, money is like oxygen for business. Without it, you will suffocate. Okay, so don't try and scale a business on your own shoulders to a large business. Is just not going to happen, guys. It's just not, unless you're very, very lucky and some magic happens for you, which can happen. I believe in magics. I believe in amazing things in life, but don't try that, because it's just going to be really, really hard. Okay, you're going to need investors. You're going to need people backing you up with money. Okay, coming back to your question, Rajesh, I was going to come back to this anyway. Okay, if you have a clear, unique selling proposal, which is your strategy is not what you do. Strategy is your unique selling proposal. Making sure that in your idea, you're able to carve your unique selling proposal really well. Okay. Imagine.
Sorry, Jack. Are you able to do a session on that, like on how to get investors?
Yes, I am. I
I
can talk about strategy all day long. I can talk about strategy. I am a strategist at heart. Okay, I can look at ideas and I can carve them and I can tell you if it's going to work or not. In fact, I've got. In fact, in the last 2 days, because I've been focusing on the tech consulting side, I gave a session yesterday to 2 guys who are actually going to eventually, hopefully, join us at some point. And then I have another person coming to meet me because he's launched a tech idea which he's looking to raise £1 million for, and he's coming to take a consulting session from us, and that's purely based on strategy. Okay, because that's what I do at the core. Okay,
that's brilliant.
So making sure that you look at the idea and you can carve it to a point where it has a very, very clear, unique selling proposal. Okay, which is USP or market value proposal. They call it MVP in technology language as well. Which without that, you're not going to go anywhere. In fact, imagine this way: if you, and this is a very, very normal thing in industry, that people say, if you got stuck in a lift with an investor, you've got about 10 seconds to pitch. And if you haven't been able to carve your idea to a point where you can't pitch it in 10 seconds, you haven't got your idea right. Okay, you can't pitch it in 10 seconds, you haven't got it right yet. Okay, you got to get to that point, and in those 10 seconds you should be able to convey the virality part as well. Okay, and if you can't do that, you haven't got a clear strategy in place as yet. Okay, everyone clear on this part of what I've just shared? Yeah.
Yeah, I understand. I understand.
Okay, raise your hand if you understand what I've shared so far, please do. Otherwise, I will be thinking I'm not necessarily doing a great job at this. Okay. Okay, let me ask Chetan. Chetan, can you hear me? Because we spoke about this stuff and I wanted to kind of give a detail. In fact, the idea of this session came from my conversation with Chetan. Chetan, are you clear on what I've just shared?
Yeah, sort of. Yeah.
Sort of. What's the confusion? What's not clear?
No, we spoke about strategies. I mean, I really have to think, and implement on what you said. I have to make, yeah, go ahead.
Unfortunately, Chetan, I know I'm taking you back to the board from scratch. I know that. And it's not easy. Okay. But guess what? I'm actually giving you very, very effective tools to play with. Because if you can do this, you will look back 10 years later and just think, wow, I wish I didn't do the way I was doing it. Okay. Are you with me on this?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And I know it's not easy. You might, I'm absolutely by no means saying this is easy. This is very, very difficult. I'm talking about creating £1 million company, £1 billion company. Okay. It's definitely not easy. I am on that track myself. I can physically show you things that I'm doing right behind the scene. The things that I'm teaching is exactly the things that I'm doing behind me for myself. Okay. And I'm not necessarily £100 million company. I'm not. Okay. But what I'm saying is, these are the tools that you need to be able to get to that point in the first place. Okay.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
It's not easy. Okay. By no means it is easy, but these are definitely the tools that you need to be able to get to that point where you can take the idea, carve it, have a very clear strategy, you have a very clear pitch, and then you take that and, pitch it to investors that allows you to scale your business idea to a medium to a large business. Okay.
Sorry, Jack, I got one more question. Sorry, I do ask a lot of questions.
No, go ahead. That's a good thing.
How do you stay? Say you have like you said, it's not easy, and you're a very successful entrepreneur. You're a visionary as well. How do you stay focused when you're having challenges and setbacks, and how do you deal with that? Because that's what I'm going through at the moment. And even if it's not for this session, maybe for a next session, because there's times when I am really super productive, and there's other times where the duvet feels heavy, and I say, "Oh my God!"
It happens with everyone, Rajesh. It happens with everyone. But I've shared in some of our previous sessions as well, in the trainings that you have available, that I look at myself as a third person. So only a human is capable of looking at, it's like we are the only species capable of looking at ourselves as a third person. Okay. Be compassionate towards yourself, not just with others. Always look at it and say, well, how can this person improve? How can I be more effective? How can I be more compassionate, not just towards others, but towards yourself? How can I be more productive? Okay. And then you don't judge yourself. You don't assess yourself. You just ask questions, and then you apply the answers to yourself. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's great. I've been going through your training videos. Brilliant. I'll be going through some more.
Okay, so that's what I do. And like I said, I've shared this many, many times. Yes, I do lose focus as well. I'm just a human, but I do believe that I am a lot more focused than most people. And I am also doing a lot of creative work behind the scene, which people will start to kind of see very, very soon. All of this is literally in the pipeline. We're looking at multiple launches on multiple products and services. And all of this is pretty much this year. So you'll all see that. Okay. But going back to your question, Rajesh, which I was going to cover some aspects of that, which is your execution. Okay. I can tell you one thing about execution. If you get your idea right, and if you get your strategy right, okay, at the back of that, your execution needs to be very, very strong. Okay. If you are, okay, raise your hand. Please raise your hand for me. And I just need to know this. Before you even joined us, was PEN or me able to stay on top of your mind? Was I able to stay on top of your mind for some or the other reason? Raise your hand if I was able to.
Sorry, can you repeat the question again?
So before you joined us here, before that, was me, as in Jack, or the PEN business model able to stay on top of your mind? Okay. The reason for that is a very, very, very strong execution, guys. Okay. And at the core of execution, you've got this front end, back end strategies. You've got the free products, the paid products. You've got tons and tons of PR, tons and tons of marketing. Like most social media channels used loads and loads of content out there. and a lot more behind that, which, like I said, I've shared in previous sessions. This is what it takes. Heavy hand on marketing, a very heavy hand on your PR, a very heavy hand on your content creation. That is what it takes to be able to stay on top of people's mind, which will allow you to scale your business. Okay. Even if you look at the referral program that we have, those people are not here with us. In the referral program, I have nearly 100 people. In the WhatsApp group, I have, I think, about 70 odd people. In the Telegram group, I have like 20 something people, nearly 100 people just in the referral program that we have. And this is all due to purely sending out messages, speaking with people when they call up and they say, I want a side hustle, or how can I make more money with PEN without actually having to spend a lot of time or money. The referral program kicks in. Okay, that's exactly why you see so many people joining our WhatsApp groups, Telegram groups, and social media channels, and so on and so forth. Is purely because of the execution level that is used. And I must say one thing: this is all done without any external investment. Without any external investment. Okay,
That's brilliant, Jack. That's absolutely awesome.
I remember at a point when I started this, I thought I could barely manage phase 1, and I will not be able to manage phase 2 because I'd need money. Otherwise, the business will suffocate. But I was lucky that we ended up closing a few deals, property deals, which allowed me to have enough cash to do phase 2. And then in the middle of that, we are closing more deals, which is allowing me to go to phase 3 with our own money. Okay. This would have not happened if I wasn't closing deals behind the scene. I could actually take that money and grow my portfolio. I'm not doing that. I'm investing that money into PEN. Okay. In fact, if I was to just look back in the last maybe about 5 years or so, I have made enough money from deals behind the scene that I could have easily built about five, 6 properties. Okay. And I've not done that. And I've taken that money, invested into PEN. Okay. Why am I sharing this with you? You still will suffocate without money. This is the point we are at as well, where in, let's say, in a year's time, or let's say by the end of 2022, if I don't raise funds for PEN, we will be short of funds. We will not have money to carry on like this. Okay. But going back, we are still carving our strategy. We're still carving our strategy. We are still trying to make it more uniquer with the features that we're going to bring on phase 3. Okay. Why am I sharing this with you? The reason for that is because then you can see that whatever I'm sharing with you, I'm actually taking that and I'm actually applying that into our business as we speak. In fact, we're not just that we're launching 2 bars in diabetic category. We are also looking to launch a Afghan bakery product. There's 3 or 4 Afghan bakery products that we're launching at the back of this as well. Okay, so you can see where the ideas are being generated from, and so on and so forth. Raise your hand if you have any questions so far, please.
Yeah, how do you I mean, it's really admirable that from a standing start without any external investment, you've grown this network to astounding levels. Because there are other networks out there. So how do you for want of a better word, do you look at the competition, or you just say no?
Oh yeah, massively.
And you take what they're not doing and then you implement it.
Exactly.
All right.
I mean, I remember when I was literally sitting on GoDaddy when I was buying the domain Property Entrepreneurs Network. I literally did my research for so long, and I pressed the button to buy the domain. I had gone to about 80 pages of Google to just do the research on certain keywords.
Wow.
Massive amounts of research. Okay. And one thing you'll observe is that in many cases, you will find PEN doing things that other networks don't do. So we are bringing in the social features on the platform, which absolutely none of these networks are doing. Okay. We are bringing in some other features as well as we speak in phase 3, which none of the other networks are doing. Okay. We are bringing in a property CRM system into place, which will allow people who are a part of the team, the representative team, be able to see deals of other representatives. And then if anyone externally wants access to those deals, they'll actually pay for it. So it will be a subscription model. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So we are
Yeah.
creating that as we speak. Okay. I've been obviously facing lots of challenges due to COVID and, you know, technology bugs and all sorts of problems, but we will eventually get there. Okay.
That's great. Thanks, Jack.
So anyone has any questions?
Jack,
Yes.
just going back to what you initially started talking about in terms
Yes.
of building a business. I just stumbled across some videos and some materials by a chap called Jeremy Harbour. I don't know him.
I know Jeremy Harbour. Yes.
Okay.
I've met
Yeah.
Jeremy Harbour. I've been to one of his events.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. He buys businesses.
Yeah.
And he turns them profitably. And there's a really good book that he's written called Go Do. So I would recommend that if you read that. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I was just trying to kind of, it's just ironic because, you know, it was just intriguing just hearing and reading some of his material. So I just thought I'd just ask if anybody knew him and, you know, is it, you know, real stuff that they're doing, you know, because I was just surprised when they talk about how companies that are really, really failing, some that are in debt and they get involved and, you know, turn around and they make it very profitable. So just
do you mind if I answer this question, Jack?
Go ahead, Ravish. Go ahead.
Sorry, who was it? Who was it?
Emmanuel.
Hi, Emmanuel. It's Raj. Sorry, I'm new here, but
hi,
nice to meet you. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
I went to an event of Jeremy's. I didn't know who he was because I actually went there because James Khan was there, right? James Khan, who was doing Dragon's Den back in 2007, so I was in 2009, and Kevin Green, and Jack's probably heard of Kevin Green. He's he classed himself as one of the largest landlords. Anyway, Jeremy Harbour came on, and he told us about his story, and the story how he became an entrepreneur. And it was ignited by the sad tragic passing away of his brother. And he always used to say, anytime someone had a problem, his friends, he used to say, why don't you start a business? So I'm having relationship problems, start a business. I can't pay the mortgage, rent, start a business. Jack would probably have a similar sort of thing. And then what he started doing is, as he got more and more popular and well known, entrepreneurs that were struggling with their businesses would come to him and he'd take over them for £1. Now, I don't know how true the story is, but he'd say, I could buy a business for £1 and turn them over to 6, 7, and 8 figures. So, at the end of the talk, you got a standing ovation. But in order to do that, he has a system. Obviously, you'd have to buy his, because it's got, I think it's called Harbour Events, because I still get his emails. Harbour Club. So you would have to, I think you'd have to join his coaching program. Back then, his coaching program was £10,000, and that was 2009. I don't know how much it is now. There is another guy that does a similar thing that I know of called Jonathan J. He's sort of copied Jeremy Harbour. He's obviously with he's joined with Rob Moore or Progressive Property, but he does a similar sort of thing. I think his is about 2-3 grand. But what you could do, maybe have a session with Jack, because I'm sure Jack could easily go into businesses and turn them around. Find your local businesses. What you're looking to do is become a business turnaround consultant. So you go into a business, right, that's failing, and you say, look, you connect with someone. Once you get your first client, you connect with someone, do a sort of audit. Most of the businesses that fail are due to 2 things: sales and marketing, right? Because sales, like Jack said, cash flow. Without cash flow, your business can be profitable, but with no cash flow, it will still be stone dead. You can go bankrupt. There's a saying, right? Turnover is vanity, profit is sanity, cash flow is reality. I know it sounds like a cliche, but if you can go in like that, or maybe have a session with Jack, or if you want to get in contact with me, I'm not saying I know everything, but I know that where a business is going, because I come from an accounting background as well. My father's an accountant. But you could look at some businesses, and I know with COVID and everything, you can't go out, but maybe connect with people on LinkedIn or or Facebook, or start a Facebook group and just say, you know, I help turn around businesses. Because once you've got 1 or 2 clients on you, like Jack said, I mean, Jack said when he started PEN, he just had an idea. I mean, it's amazing. He just had an idea. He did so much research, and then from that, he got his property deals, and he's developed, and now look how big it is. So you don't know when you're gonna go. And the thing is, the problem is, we all get in our own way. We think, well, I can't do this. Who's going to listen to me? I'm not an expert. I'm not. But you don't really need to be an expert. All you need to do is to solve a problem for the client. If you can find a way of solving a problem for the client, you know, they'll give you a testimonial. You'll get referrals, and then you can build it from there without spending £10,000 with Jeremy Harbour, or I think it's 5,000 with Jonathan J. So I think Jack, you should do a division for business turnaround.
No, Rajesh. So going back to strategy, I actually thought about business turnaround consultant about in 2014-15, and there's too many people in that space. Okay. And that's exactly the reason I did not go in that space. I could easily be in that space very easily and do good money.
I agree with Jack. It is the word. It is very competitive.
Yeah.
You know, it is competitive, but I mean, you can research it. You know, I mean, you can research it.
But the positioning that we are taking in the consulting space is very, very unique, and you'll see it in the next probably a couple of weeks, 2 or 3 weeks.
Is that tech? Is it you're more focused on tech because that's your background, isn't it? So
it's not necessarily the background as much, but it's more about taking the space that I want to take. So I am focused on tech consulting rather than anything else.
What I would say, Emmanuel, is choose a niche. You need to develop what's called your ideal client profile or avatar, which is hard.
We are on top of it. I mean, I am mainly focused on property tech, but it's a combination of property and technology. That is the consulting space eventually I'm taking, which I know is very unique in itself. There's not many people in that space.
I think that's brilliant.
Again, going back to the session's main aim is that you gotta have a very clear strategy, and that at the back of that, it's a very, very strong execution. That is what's required to be able to scale any business to a point where you get a multi-million-pound valuation. Okay.
I agree. I absolutely agree with Jack.
Thank you, Jack. Thank you, Raj. Thank you very much.
Hey, anytime. You're welcome. Anyone wants to contact me, I'm happy to help. I'm here to help.
So going back to the list, I'm actually going to ask everyone in the list to ask any questions they might have. Pami, do you have any questions? Rajesh, do you have any questions?
I think I've asked all the questions, but I just want to say thank you for allowing me to come on the session and answering all my questions. Thank you.
Dean, sir, do you have any questions?
No questions from me, thanks.
Chetan, do you have any questions?
No, Jack, thank you.
Welcome. Ashwina, any questions?
Hi, Jack. No, we don't have any questions. Thank you.
Welcome. Emmanuel, any questions?
No, Jack. Yeah, I'll need to have this session with you at some point.
Okay. Esther, any questions? Geeta, any questions?
No, thanks, Jack.
Jennifer, any questions?
No, Jack, I'm fine.
Kalpana, any questions?
None for me. Thank you, Jack.
Lavanya, any questions?
No, Jack, thank you.
Sejal, any questions?
No, Jack.
Seti bro, any questions? And then we have a Zoom user. I'm not sure who that is.
Mr. X.
Is it Suraj?
That is Suraj, yeah.
Oh, hi, Suraj.
Suraj, any questions?
No, Jack, thank you.
No problem. Okay.
Sorry,
so,
I'm in and out.
That's okay. That's okay. Okay. So now some of you might turn up and say, well, this doesn't necessarily apply to me as much. It unfortunately does. We are living in a world where if you are not creating a business at the back of your portfolio, yes, you're building your portfolio, great, you're creating your income, great. But don't be surprised that taxation changes kills your portfolio. we already have taxation coming in, which is hitting multiple businesses in property. Don't be surprised that HMOs eventually go out of fashion, or they won't go out of fashion, but they just become unprofitable, or BTLs become completely unprofitable. Don't be surprised at that, because taxation, as much as they can kill businesses, they actually give birth to new businesses. But just be prepared for that this is all very much possible, and that you should be prepared for multiple angles in your business. Okay. Also, one thing that I'd like to share is that when it comes to execution, marketing and sales, and Rajesh said it right as well, that without a strong execution, sales and marketing, you're not going to go too far. I know a lot of businesses who just struggle with sales. Okay. And if you are struggling with sales, you're just not going to go too far, irrespective of how good your idea is, or how much marketing you do, or whatever you do. If you are not doing sales at the back of that, you have got a major challenge. And if you feel that you are not the salesperson, or you can't sell things, there's two things you can do. One, improve your sales skills. And second, which I think most of you are learning with us, but the second thing you can do is find yourself another partner, someone who is good at sales. Okay. This is something a lot of people ignore as well, that they don't take on, or they don't think of taking on a partner who might be good at sales. Because if you are not good at sales, then first either try to improve your skills, and then if you can't do that, or if you're struggling with that, make sure that you find someone who is good at selling. Because if that doesn't happen, again, your business will not go too far, unfortunately. Okay. So that is today's session. I am hoping that it was useful. I do know that if you take this and if you implement it in your business, that you will do really, really well over the next 5 to 10 years, just not very immediately. That's all, because it doesn't happen immediately. Okay. And that is my wish for you. That is today's session. Thank you for watching. Let me stop the recording.